All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be working on converting a factory over so it's buildable today. Let me get this up here. Working on which one is this? Da-da. It is the Frito-Lay factory. And it's going to take a little while, but I figured I'd do this one live. Been pretty busy week so far with the kids being gone. My sister's been putting me to work in the house, so I haven't had much time to do anything on the map until now, and I only have a few hours because I'm going out this evening. But we'll get started, and I'll show you how I do it. I've already got several of them done, so what I'm going to do is copy the workings of the last one I did, which takes a while doing this stuff when it's there's so much in this map. You'll notice how slow these things are working. We'll highlight the Pepsi factory. Volume seems a bit low. Let me see if I can fix. Oh yeah, it's low. There. How's that? A little better? It's me with my headset up over my head. Come on. Watch the brow. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to duplicate the Pepsi factory. Get all the settings for that one. And make the necessary changes because so much of the work has been done already. This is it done in the fabric script on the outside, wrapped in with another script on the inside, and we'll show you how I do it. Once we get the new group popped up, Pepsi Factory, we're going to rename that one to Frito if we can. It's amazing how much slower this goes when I'm doing it live, it seems. It's probably all the extra stuff running in the background. And the next thing I need to do is change. Ooh, loud noise there. Let me turn down that. You don't have much to hear here other than me. We got to change the save ID to something new as well so it doesn't try to overwrite where the factory was. So now that we have the Frito factory group, let's open that up. I copied the previous one because there's so much stuff that's already done. First off, input triggers, all the resource triggers. We're going to take that group and drag it right over to this factory because it's the easy way to do it. It's already done. Just have to find a place to put it. And then we'll be good to go. Like I said, the wheels are spinning. Okay, let's find that input group, which is way over there. I'm going to bring it over here real quick. Control B, click. Get it a little bit closer. Every time you do it, it has to refresh the screen, which is, with all the stuff going on in the editor, it's getting quite to be a pain. But here we have my input triggers. And the input triggers are for all the products that we're going to use to build the factory. And this factory is at a little bit of an angle, so let's bring it relatively straight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this building to hide it. So first thing first, we got to make sure all that grass is cleared out, all the fun stuff that goes on when the factory's not here has to be replaced and redrawn in properly. Bet you didn't know that underneath some of these there's actually still grass growing. Let me grab my square brush and square brush and get my texture for concrete and paint my slab right out to the edge where it should be. Once the factory's not here, you don't want to see all the grass in there. Door JJ, thank you for the host as well. So it's been a pretty busy week. We were doing a floor upstairs, putting a hardwood floor in a room. My sister's up there working right now. She doesn't need me at the moment, so I figured I'd try to get as much of this done as possible today, at least one. We'll try to get back here again this week. It's been kind of crazy with running to the dump and all that fun stuff. All right, there's some more grass to get out of here. But we've got a long way. You'll see that each of these factories, getting them primed up, takes usually minimum of about 3 hours. Let's see how it goes today online, because I don't know if I have that much time, but we'll get as far as we can today, and I'll finish it up later tonight when I get home, which will probably be about 10 if need be. So we got all the markers for the products, but I don't like the direction they're going in because we're not going to be driving in from that angle. So let's spin them around and do it this way. I'm just going to kind of use the front of the building as a guide to make them relatively straight, and then got to make sure they're all the way in so they can't be seen from the outside through those garage doors, which they are. Got to lower it to the ground just above it. We'll pull them in just a little bit more. I want to have you, there's no fence over there. And it looks like I got a little carried away with my concrete on the outside here. So just fill in a little bit of that. Thank you, Beth5921, for the follow. Greetings, Netherlands, Mad Max 53. All right, so next thing with the input triggers, as I mentioned to some of you in one of the shows, we're getting to the factories that are going to take a little bit more to build. So I'm going to change the resource settings on slowly but surely on this factory and up them a little bit. You'll get more gold for building this factory as well because it's going to cost you more resources. And right now the capacity is set for 200,000. We're going to make them each let's go to 300 for this factory. Keep the factor at 1, 300,000 concrete. The most important thing is to keep the factors correct so it runs out of all the product at the same time. So, well, as we're building. So let's see what I will do as I go through. I'm not going to make boards I can bump up because we got a lot of places to make boards. I'm going to bump that one up to 300,000 as well. And then when we get to ones like the planks, I think I'm going to cut that down a little bit and then just make it half a factor. So we'll put it at 150,000 and then make it at 0.5 so it matches up. It'll use the proper drywall. We'll keep drywall. Keep that factory burning. And resource 4. $500K. Well, $500K would be definitely a lot of work. But 300, and it'd take a lot of time because you're going to have, what do we got? I think 10 already buildable. Steel, we're going to bump up to 300. And then the last one, we're going to drop down to 150. We'll do a little bit different on the next one. We're going to mix it up a little bit. And the final ones, yeah, too much buffering. I'm sorry about that. I don't think it's buffering. It's probably this slow, silly editor. It takes a long time. The editor's stalling. And then chipboard, we're going to bring down to 150. So everything's 300 except for chipboard is half of that. And then the factor, because it's half, we're only going to use half of it at a time. And that will keep it even. So resources are done. That's the very easy part. Next is we're going to close the input. The output group. Product 1 is where we build the silo, the factory under the visibility nodes. And this is all the Pepsi factory info. So I'm going to delete all these first. All the pieces of the Pepsi factory are in this group. Once it catches up, I gave you an idea on the containers. That's cool. All right, so all of these groups here, everything that's in that group right there gets deleted. And then the fun begins. It's not too difficult once you have one of these done. It's just so time consuming disassembling the old factory, getting the pieces right, and then reassembling it so that it all works. It's a pain in the butt. Yeah, the milk has always been a hard thing to get, but the trigger is just like the rest of the triggers, so I don't know if it's the milk truck or I have no idea why milk is so tough. You just got to be precise. All right, so next thing we got to do is we got to find the, whoops, I don't want that button highlighted. Okay. We got to find the factory group where the old factory exists and take a look at all the pieces. I'll do that by just clicking on one of them. So under Frito, it's set up with these different groups because that is the way we had the buildable factory in the last map. What I'm going to do right now is take a look at each of the groups, and I'm going to try to find out what each component is, because I can't always read German or what all these terms are. I can't remember what they were, but I don't want the fence to be buildable because it takes too long. So we're going to highlight each group, and we're going to leave the fence behind. And just find out which group has what pieces in it. That's the way I started because, all right, so that's that building, which is pretty simple. That is the last thing that we have to drop in. It's probably only a few pieces big. So that one's going to stay. It's going to be the last thing in the group, one piece in there. This is a huge group full of transform groups, so that one might be the fence. But yeah, we want that building to appear over the top of the triggers. Thank you, Serious Farmers NL, for the $5 donation. All right, thank you so much. All right, we got a transform group here, and it looks like it's all the fence. So that is going to stay behind. Thank you, Serious Farmers NL, for the donation. Really appreciate that. So we're leaving that group. Let's go down, and what I'm first going to do is I'm trying to find the group that's going to be the most difficult, because the one that has the most pieces, if I can start it with that one, which that one looks like it has quite a few, then it makes it a little bit easier because I can position it. You'll see what I mean in a minute. The one that has, that doesn't look too bad. That one is the factory. That goes all together. That is some pallets that's coming out, and trigger marker. All right, so it looks like we'll start with one of these. Yeah, we'll start with this del cap group, and now we got to find out which pieces are in there. And the important thing is the factory pieces have to be non-collisionable in order to work if they're deeper than the first transform group. meaning this corn turn has a plus sign next to it. If the corn turn group has a lot of collisionable parts underneath it, they either have to be out of the way so you can't hit them, or they have to be turned non-collisionable. So we got to check each one. This one here is what we're working on. The pipes up above I'm not too concerned about. Let's see what's in there. And we got the billboards on the side, they're up high. The tubing and the corn turn itself, I think, is the building itself. So I think we're going to be okay by just cutting that out. And this is where the first group, why I want the biggest group, because it's going to be, once I reposition this building, everything else in that group will be in position. We're going to paste that into the visibility nodes section. That's pretty much it. We got to get all the pieces into the visibility nodes and change it so that if there's any pieces that are collisionable deeper in groups, we actually have to pull those out separately, which that tends to get it to be a pain if they're in the way where somebody could actually run into them with a vehicle when the building's not there. Create a transform group and hold on left control and place and put each one into the group. I'm not exactly sure what but we got to put them in a certain order. So we're gonna bring this one over. And position it so it's back right where it was, and then when we bring the other pieces from this one over, it will be pretty easy. Let's bring that over here and put it back to where it was. See, you can't have items in the transform group other than this group, or they will not be, it won't work. They have to be separated. Only the first object in each group is going to be working correctly. All right, we got to get this kind of lined up the way it was. So I think we're from there. And what degree? All right, we definitely have to come this way. Basically, it's going to go underneath those pallets, so it must be connecting to the other silo. Yeah, they were pretty close together before. And they were on the left of the door, the boxes. So we'll get it lined up as close as possible to where it should be. And that looks pretty good. The pallets are on. Is it a little bit crooked? Yeah, just a tiny bit. That, it looks pretty good. Let's try this next piece. We got to go up to that group again. Which one were we in? We were in this one here. So we've got the next thing here. We'll see what we have. Now you would think, oh, some of these are going to go pretty easy, but it's knowing what goes where. We don't want floating pipes to be there before the buildings if at all possible. So we'll take a look at each of the groups, see what's in them, and if they have to be broken down, all these pieces have to be moved down into the other group one at a time. Some of them. When we get to those silos, we should be able to cut all of those out at once and drop them in. So that's that building right there. And I'm sure it has very similar, yeah, all right. We should be able to take that one. We'll find out when we do the test later if all worked well. There's something going on because there's a gap here, but I don't know if that, I should have looked at it a little closer before I started. And put that into our visibility nodes. You think that's why when you make your lights for your mods, you can only use one color. Each transform light type needs to be separate. Yeah. Sometimes things are crazy. The way this script works is it turns on and off the collision, but only on the initial item in each group. So if they're in folders, everything below it won't go non-collisionable when the factory's not here. And that means that people will be coming over here with their trucks and bumping into objects they can't see, which we got to make sure does not happen. So if I paste this one in, it should now appear close to where the other one was. We'll find out. It's always the easy way when we put this in. Based on the settings that I just did, will it line up with the rest? If not, I know where I need to make adjustments. It will tell me. And that is nowhere near. Why did it not go into... Oh, I know why. I'm such an idiot already. All right. Let's see. That is not going to work out the way I wanted it to because I moved the stupid corn turn group rather than the visibility nodes group when I was lining it up. Oh well, we'll do it the hard way. Or actually, it might be easier to just go back. Let's try that. Back here. Back up. Try over. It's been so long since I did one, like since last Friday, that we're going to move this around. Find out where it was in the beginning. It was... And then we'll do it the right way. So that's where it was. It's pretty close to where we had it. So we're going to do this over. We're going to grab my first one. But this time I'm going to do it the right way. John Seeger, thanks for the host. Let you bring your what up there, Thomas. All right. This will work if I do it right. Already backtracking. Started 20 minutes ago and I haven't got anything done yet. Oh, the pains of map making. Cut. You'll see what I did wrong though, see? I wasn't thinking. It's hard. That's sometimes why I don't, oh, your PV version 2 map. Why sometimes I don't broadcast when I'm working, because I got to talk and think at the same time. And I've done this only 10 times before, and I probably have done this same exact mistake like twice. But it won't be too bad. LPWF2, thank you for the follow. We're backtracking, so if you just joined us, we're practically at the beginning. Paste that into this group, and this time we will move that entire transform group over here, and that way all the rest of the pieces from that group will actually fall into place. Don't bill me, thank you for the host. All right, now grab the visibility nodes group this time instead of just the corn turn. I wish this thing worked a little faster. 4 gigahertz computer isn't enough anymore, with this map anyway. You'll not bill them. Just watch. Oh, come on. You're supposed to come over here, visibility nodes group. I think it's trying to do something. Slow, slow. Just so you know, there it is. This doesn't always take that long when you're starting out on a map that isn't almost a gig and a half in size. It goes a lot faster in the beginning. It's when you get all this extra junk in here that starts slowing down the process. I've actually been able to remove some of the pieces from the building process too that were not necessary, which we would check out at the end of the factory. Let's see, get kind of an idea how straight we are on the ramp here. Look at my pipe up here. Get it connected. Where's my group handle now? Over there. My excuse me, but my right mouse button is no longer working properly, so if you see me kind of struggling a little bit, that is why. We still are, it's pretty good, but we might be a little bit, that looks a little better. It should work. Let's see what happens when we do the second one this time, which is this group right here. Need like a 12 core, yeah. Run by the numbers on your XYZ. Oh yeah, I suppose. But they change based on where the group is set. I could have, I guess, grabbed the... But see, the problem is the numbers don't match up because each of the groups that this group is in have their own numbers. So I'd have to do a lot of math calculations, which I'm not so fond of. So it does, sometimes if it's the topmost group, it can be done because it's in a 50% group, and then that's below that, it's in another group, and each of those have their own numbers. It won't work. I get what you're saying. But if you're like 3 transform groups down and each one has different XYZs, then it just won't work because we got to grab that last one. So this is pretty much the only way I can do it at this moment. But when we get the first couple in here, the big group parts with all the little pieces, then we can go and grab the silos. So we're going to edit and paste the next one in here. And then we'll see how close I was to where we wanted it to line up. Should be pretty darn close. Serious Farmers NL, thank you for the host. All right, so let it redraw. We've got 3 buildings, and there's the other one, and the pipes are a little bit closer than we wanted. Close enough for me to just go like this and call it done. A lot less work there. Now we can go up, and the tower add is the adds on the end. Again, that is something that people could run into. The very first, we'll show you what that is in a second once it's highlighted here. There's 2 of them. They're done the same way, so if we fix them both to make sure that nobody's going to run into anything, then it'll be good. So our tower ad is probably, if I'm right, that little sign basically for the place. There's one right back here. Now, basically I'm just going to expand that out and take a look, and it's going to have the add planes each individually. These here will not go to non-collisionable, so if they have any collision on them, it won't be necessary, but we definitely have to make sure we turn the collision off on these. It doesn't matter because the frame is collisionable. You won't even notice in game. These are the types of things you won't notice having no collision. Actually, if anything, it'll make the game run smoother with all the objects I've had to turn non-collisionable. At least that's what Giants said, that the collisionable objects take a little more rendering. So that's it, add, and basically to do that we have the rigid body setting. That if it has rigid body checked like it does there, I'm just going to make sure that we have just that. We just got to unclick that on each of the pieces underneath here. Make sure there's no rigid body on each of those pieces, and then you'll be able to drive right through it when it's not there. But when it's there, because the tower itself has collision, it will be collisionable again. So if it ever catches up to me, we'll click each of these off. I could delete this one. Actually, I probably could, but you never know because it's at the back of the lot. But I'm already halfway through the work. We'll move this one in. We might move it. Well, we'll keep it. I think, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Where it is in the back of the lot. Could be deleted, but maybe we'll just move it to a new home. Out toward the front road. We'll take a look once I get the last 2 of these pieces done. Thank you, Gaming Legend Long Dong and Fish Stick 1005 for the follows. I hate that spinning wheel. I wonder how fast I could do this if I wasn't waiting all the time. I know what I gotta do. It's just waiting for it half the time. It takes forever. Jetty's still learning to type. He's working on it. He got it right. You're so glad you don't make maps. Well, I wish I could say this. No, actually, I enjoy it. The funny thing is, when it's early on, like I said in the map, these things don't take so long. But this map has so many things going on. But now that that whole group is non-collisionable except for the tower itself, we can grab that. We're going to grab that one. Actually, maybe I will just put one in. We'll take a look around the lot once I cut this out, see where we want it to go. But I was thinking I could always put this one where up near where the other one is and delete the other one because this one's done already. The other one's coming up soon. It's down here. Because I have been deleting unnecessary stuff just to cut down on the file size because so much more stuff's coming in. So we'll cut that one out. And we will paste that into our visibility nodes group. Yeah, it takes longer. Probably I gotta end up doing that. We'll see if there's only one entrance to this place now. I can't remember. And paste that one down in here. So as you go through and the main group's highlighted like this, you'll see every piece of this thing has to be in that group until it's all done. And then we got to add the new markers to the group. All right, so my sign should be reappearing pretty close to where it was. Whoa. You can do it. There we go. And once it lets me scroll, which again, I don't know why it has to redraw like this all the time. There we go. All right. We will bring that one up here and we'll put it closer to the entrance. And actually, to tell you the truth, I do think I'm going to do a little bit of easy work here. I think I'm going to duplicate that one because it's already in this group. A lot quicker this way. We'll slide that one over to this side. And then we'll go back up top where all these pieces are and grab that other tower, add, and we'll just delete that one. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. We'll grab whatever order I put it in is what's going to appear on the slab first as well. So we'll delete that one. So I'm going to grab the next building. So the 3 buildings will build, then the silos will come in. If it works here. Come on, I just clicked delete. All right, there it goes. All right, back up top, we have building number 3, which is this one right here. And we'll see make sure everything that's in that group is going to be okay as well. The farm silos are not going to be linked together, but the train stations will be. You would have put the silos first, then the buildings. Well, that can be done, and I may do that. All right, so that is actually, no, that's just the dump point. Let me take the silos. It's kind of important for that dump point to be collisionable, so you're driving up on the ramps. So we'll have to take a look at everything underneath that group as well. Might have to come out of the group. But the silos, because they're just not in transform groups, they're just going to be cut and paste over there. So we're going to grab all the silos right now. And maybe we'll build the silos first, because that does seem like it'd probably be the smarter idea. So it won't be too hard if we grab all the silos out of here. Selecting them takes forever. Each one, now I just gotta wait for it to select them. I've done the key commands, the clicking on them. It's just waiting for them to be selected. Come on. There's number 2. And the next one is coming up. Any minute now. All right. I'm going to check and see what that entails, all those silos. Once it lets me move. Oh yeah. I think it's got them all now. And they're all going to be cut at the same time. I had actually thought about putting the silos in afterward, but man, there's so much work that has to be done. But we can move it. What we do is we'll paste all these into this group all at once. Then we'll cut the top 5 items and paste them below it. And then it will be in that order. It's a farming map with all, yeah, updated my version 2 map with buildable factories, farming. You know it. Just about everything that we can squeeze in here. Basically, these factories in our current map are not constructible, and that's what we're doing today, is making it so this factory will be, you have to build it before you can purchase it. So that is in there, looking good. Now we'll grab the top 4. This is the easy part because I have the transform group where so things just appear back where we're building them. Whereas the next groups that we have to move, I have to position every single piece. So that's why I try to grab the group that has the most pieces to start off with. It just makes it that much easier. If we cut those out and then paste them right back in, they'll be at the bottom of the silos and they'll build right after. You could move them all down one at a time, but the way this thing works, the way it goes so slow, this is the quickest way to do it. And if we, near the end, have a piece that has to go in the middle, then we have to do it manually, moving it up and down the list. So cut those. And put them right back in underneath the silos. So now the silos will be the first things built on the slab, followed by those two buildings coming in next with the pipes at the same time. Each building will just appear with the pipes because the pipes are in the group below it. But the pipes are also up high enough in the air that I don't have to worry about the collision because you're not going to be driving onto that slab and hitting them unless you are flying a plane, which they don't really have that many of. Hey KW, how you doing? Yeah, you can right click and move up, but each of them would have to be done individually and it would take forever with the redrawing like this. So we'll do it this way and get it done a lot faster. There you go. So all those are in the group and those are at the end of it now. I'm going to take a look at, we have two more buildings. We might as well get those built. Let's find where they are in the group up above. They might not be in the same group, but they should be set up very similar. They're probably in a... Oh, those are the corn turn groups. So yeah, we can grab both of those at the same time. And put those down below. We will do the test and drive onto the place once all the pieces are in place just to make sure I'm not running into anything, which it's possible, but we'll check that out once we're done here. And I just realized something. We'll see if it works here. Put those down below. Once the entire factory is into the visibility nodes group, we get to test it. I do think I have to make some extra labels. Every time I do a new factory, there's always products that go in it that haven't been labeled, made labels yet, so. But we'll check that out in a minute when we get there. Paste those back in. Did I select the right group to paste them in? I don't remember. We'll find out in a minute. Yep. All right, so those are all done. And we have this little bugger right here, this ramp. We have to figure out exactly what is non-collisionable and what's collisionable in this thing. in this group so that it can be moved. We want the ramp itself to stay collisionable, and that's where, is that it? 1, 2, 3. So you see this, it's 3 down in the group. It's not gonna, probably not gonna appear in the right place, but we're just grabbing the ramp, and we might have to reposition this because it's in 2 other groups. But we'll take that as well. As long as it's the only thing, and it goes in and it's the first node, it will turn itself collision on and off on its own with the mod. Cogent, you are not going to have to build. That is correct. You're the Chuck. That one is done, as well as several others. And depending on the factories, we're down to, oh, I don't even have my list out in front of me. We are getting down there, but as you can see, they're taking some time to do. If we do get this done before, say, another hour and a half, we'll probably jump in and do a couple of labeling of the factories that aren't going to be buildable. But what do I got left? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And some of those are not going to be buildable. Now that did go somewhere else, so we'll just bring it over here. Oh wait, did I just I don't know what I'm doing. I think I put it in the right place. It looked like I had, yeah, visibility nodes. Okay. So we'll just reposition that close to where it was. Why, oh why is the scale so different? Either way, we're not going to use that yellow box this time anyway, so we'll get rid of that. We're going to make our new labels when the time comes. So it must have been scaled up in another group, in one of those upper groups, but it doesn't need to be. Let me see if I can get this box out of here. All right, next we have, I think that should do for now. We'll check it out later. If we come up to the top where the original factory was, you will notice that this whole 50% group is done. So we can actually delete the empty transform groups, get them out of there. And then we'll go to the 75% group. See, now originally in last year's map, in the 2015 version, the factories went into these, and that's when each of them were built. And we just copied it over when we imported the factories and made them not buildable. But I left the groups just because it was so much easier. I would have had to do this same thing, reassemble the factories, and I didn't want to do it when I first built the map, so I dragged them over as it was, and now I'm paying the price. So next is this 75%, and then we got all the stuff from the 100%. But I think we're going to go right to the 75% group and find the pieces. And these will probably have to be moved one at a time because they're all going to have to be lined up as well as while we're building it. So we'll check out what each one of these are. And when we get to the roof billboards, we don't even have to worry about those because they're way up on the roofs. We won't have to worry about them being collisionable. Nobody's going to hit them. but we definitely got to check out this factory. And I believe this is 2 stories high. Whoops, can't get this thing. Come on, right mouse button. There we go. This is a pretty modular building, so we got to make sure we put the bottom ones in first, and there it is. It shouldn't be too hard to line these up one at a time because we have all the other pieces here to kind of show where it goes. Different factories. Oh yeah, we're going to have to go in and paint the ground and whoops. I think I just did something that I didn't mean to do. We'll see. I pasted it, but not in the transform group, if I'm correct. Yeah, we got to cut that out again. I got to go in and level the ground and paint it all nice so it looks like a slab underneath all this building too. Now, it would have been really cool if this whole building was all the transform groups were lined up. That happened only once out of all the other 9 factories when I actually had all the initial transform groups set to 0, so the factories, as I went through each of the 25, 50, 75% groups, it just built itself. But like I said, 9 factories, it was only the only one that did it. Is it possible to lower the silo trigger for the coal ore and that they're at the quarry to be lowered? Why would they need to be lowered? That is the question. You would probably know better than me. Now, did I? Oh yeah, edit, paste that thing in there. The unloading place at the quarry. Is it too high in the air? Well, we'll check it out when we get there. That's one place I haven't done. But if something's out of place, we'll check it out. Is it the train one unloading or the other? Yeah, see, that building's not where it needs to be. So we got to bring it back over. But before we do that, let's take a look underneath here and clean it up a little bit. Oh, I got the grass on still. Concrete. Do-do-do. Kind of get it so it looks like a slab underneath this whole thing. Doesn't look too bad if you build on the edges but definitely the grass that's toward the middle needs to come out of here. So we'll just take that out of here. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, please get me a better mouse button. It's driving me crazy. I wear these things out like crazy though, doing this stuff. All right, let's bring that building back over here. I hope I don't have to spin them around and rotate them and everything, but I think I do. Yeah, and it's one of those garage buildings, so you'll see how this works. We need to go to, let's see what this one is at. Oh, you know what? It's also scaled up. That's gonna stink. The group I'm taking it out of is scaled up, so I'm gonna have to, yikes, make some changes. Oh, this just got a lot harder. Let's see what the scale settings are. for the group, and we'll try to get it close. But see, the building's scaled down and the group is scaled up, and now we're going to have to see what we can do here. 0.9, 0.9, 0.8 on those three pieces. Somebody wants to do the math for me. They're 1.5, 2, and 2. So it's going to be... I definitely got to bring them up to just a little bit less than that, I believe. Let's try get it close. 1.4, 1.9. Oh, that's going to be a little bit too much. But we'll get the first one numbers and then we'll be able to scale everything up. Let me spin it around, get it to close to where it's supposed to go. Let's go 1.2. Guess we'll have to work on length, width, all that fun stuff at the same time. Get a proper numbers on this piece and then we should be able to get close with the other ones. All right, we're definitely too high. 1.75, 77. Looks close. Get the yellow to match up. And maybe a 7, 8. Looks like it's a little wider at the top. I got to get the scale pretty... I know I got to spin it a little bit more too. One direction at a time. Oh yeah, we got to go longer. So... Oh wait, that's wider. 1.7 there. Actually, the first one has to be... This is not easy with a bad mouse, but let's get that out there. Right about there. We are too big. Fortunately, the buildings are all scaled up the same, but and we only have to go through this once. A little bit less than 1.6 in width. 1.58. It's pretty close. Lengthwise, actually this should be 1.582 because they were the same, weren't they? Maybe not. Well, they were, but it's going to be a little trickier. And lengthwise, it's got to go up to not that long. 1.3. Oh wait, that was a 1.5. I'm messing with the wrong number. Let's try 1.3. little more. 3, 5. So now you know why each of these factories, depending on the factory, this is the first one I actually had that needed to be scaled differently. All right, but I think we're close enough. I'm going to just do a Shift Control C, and we're going to grab the next box and see how close we can get it in. They should all be scaled the same. I hope the top level is too, because that's going to make it a pain in the butt if it isn't. All right, I got your whisper, Thomas. Thanks for sending that along. But right now I can't do that. Let's get my grass spot out of there. And we're going to paste that one in here. The fun. So literally a lot of this is rebuilding the factories from scratch. We got the pieces, but I got to reassemble them. And resize them apparently at times. All right, so copy our size coordinates from the other one. There we go. Let's bring it over. And rotate it. Bring it on in. Is the other one? I'll have to check, but I just realized the factory is at least at 90 degrees. So that should be easy enough to get right. Let's go back and make sure this one's right at 90 so we don't have, I was kind of spinning it freehand. That way it'll be exact. Minus 90 was that one. This one at 90. All right, it was just 88.9. So 2 down. Next one. It's gonna be pretty close. Let's clear up some grass underneath this mess here. Let me get a bigger brush for now. Get my slab in there. And the edges are going to be covered up, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. We just want to have it look like a slab. We've got actually grass underneath over here. The factory is set not exactly at a 90-degree angle on the slab, so that's why it's a little bit off. Kind of hard to get the clean edges. Let's see, I went a little further than I wanted to there. That should work. We've got my group pasted in. And one thing I'm going to do after this one is I'm going to save. Because I don't want to lose all this work that we've done already. But it happens. And then the show would end. Because there's nothing worse than getting this far, forgetting to save, and then having everything I've done in all this time, which is almost an hour into it or so already, go to waste. They need an autosave feature. Actually, I don't know. The way things go so slow, autosave might be really annoying with this thing. Scale it up. Using my numbers from before, rotate to 90 degrees. Bring it on into place. That looks pretty good there. Whoa. That's the framed rotate got put on by accident with the stupid mouse button issue I'm having. Alright. 3 out of 4 of the bottom buildings. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 at the top. That should be a little bit easier, but let's get this saved up right now before things get too crazy. Is there a place to store board pallets? South Station. I don't know if it is in... If you got the latest version, there is. You can store them down at the South Station in the warehouse. Every product eventually will be in the South Station for storage. Just gonna save it here. I'm getting nervous that we might lose everything. No, we should be good. You just never know. All right. So we need this last one here on the bottom. Then we'll do the top level, which is another 4 pieces. Then we'll put the ends on, which looks like 2, maybe more. And then we'll get pretty close to getting all the pieces in. We got a lot of other little things that need to be done, but we're getting there. Now, I suppose with these pieces I could just cut them all and paste them all in and then just go through them one at a time. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but you know me, I like to make things more difficult. Work on the refinery. The shell fuel is, I was not going to make buildable because of the numerous amount of pieces. But you guys want, anybody, let's see. I will tell you, if anybody wants to tackle one of the buildings, Sam Adams and Some of them I gotta create. Sam Adams, well, you could make the fuel buildable if somebody really wanted to do it. But other than that, I gotta do my own designing, and I know vodka's just one piece, so that's not gonna be buildable either. Uh, but if you wanted to try Sam Adams, I'll work on some of the other factories, the newer ones, and if you want to, or if you want to tackle the fuel, you can give it a shot and send me the file. With the fuel, it's gonna be tricky. There's a ton of pieces, and it has to, like I said, a lot of them are gonna have to be moved around. But yeah, you'll find out how. And just send me the file. Hey, I'm all for it. If you guys think you can handle something and want to help out, we'll get you in here and we'll get you the credit, and it'll get done faster. Because this is one of those things that. What did I do? Oh yeah, I'm bringing the building in. Yeah, it's one of those things that I can always. I've got some. Whoops, wrong button. Shift Control V. There we go. Rotate -90. I can always work on something else, and boy, how awesome would it be to have something done. Wow, what did I do different? Oh, I didn't get them all in all the group size, the sizes right. And I'm gonna have to purchase myself at some point when I get some cash a new mouse so I can get through this a little bit easier. Or I'll do what I usually do, and that is pound on the mouse button until it works. Don't be critical if I'm a little bit off. Because I'm always a little off. Something is telling me that that one's sticking out further than this one, but we can fix that. There. Looks good to me. Go to the upstairs floor. Alright, this is probably going to be scaled up differently than downstairs, but we'll see what we can do to make it work. I have made slight changes with some of the factories as I've been rebuilding them just to make them look a little better, a little different, but I don't think you guys will notice them. Maybe you will. I've removed some objects even from some of them. If I thought that they were unnecessary, because there's so much going on that wherever I can save a little bit memory here or there, it's a big help. We never had the shell factory buildable before, but hey, that'd make it interesting. Some of the things I've just decided not to do because, yeah, I think the shell factory. You know what I was just thinking? It'd be harder to do though. This would go a lot faster if I just exported the factory, but it'd be harder to do because you wouldn't know exactly where, and then worked on it because I wouldn't be doing all the waiting. Maybe, but then you'd have to have the spacing in the different buildings correct, a little bit tougher that way when you don't have the landscape around you. Thank you, PT Negarath, for the host. But a lot of this just goes slow because there's so much stuff in the map. And it takes up time. Let me make sure I don't have the right. Okay, that's cool. Bring that about there. We can bring it right out to the edge. It was overlapping a little bit on the front, but we don't want it. Yeah. Exporting it, you just have to get them into the right places if you did that way. Oh, did I just? Okay. Next one up, this one. We have a peanut factory. Yes, we do. That is new in this version. That wasn't in the other one. And I still have 3 more new factories. Other than that, we've got the honey processing and wax from the bees coming your way as well in this version. There's actually the meat processing facility and Campbell's are in this version as well, that we didn't have in the last one. And there's probably, as if it wasn't enough, close to 50 new products for this version, which has, I didn't even do a count, but we got to be close to 200 different items moving around, if not more, in this with this one, because we've got the gold back in for building the factories. You get paid a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be quite the change, and I think I kind of like it. Got a lot more to go, but time has been a little bit not on my side lately with everything that's going on around here and summertime. Well, I've been having fun, but I haven't been able to do as much map making as I usually do. But we're plugging away. No more of those 100-hour weeks. We're down to more like 40 to 50, which is still quite a bit. Shift Control V, scale that up. Minus 90 for my rotation. Nope, it's not, because the other one switched to 180. Oh yeah, it is good. Just don't want our, all right, yeah, we're right. Bring that in to place. Trying to do it zoomed out because this stupid mouse is not behaving. Yeah, I probably could get some of the coordinates off the last one too, but I do a lot of things the hard way just because it's fun that way. You just get, I don't know about you guys if anybody else is like that, but I get to the point where I've done things the wrong way so many times that it's sometimes easier to do them that way than to actually do the right way. Anybody else like that? You have a question related to PV2 and PV3. Will you be able to continue with the grain and products you gathered and produced in version 2 to version 3? Trees I've cut will reappear. You pretty much have to start a completely new save game to go to version 3, unfortunately. But there's no way with the changes that are going to be made that your save game is going to be compatible. And like G-Man said, but if you're comfortable with editing your save game XMLs, a lot of it's going to be similar. So you could, and I could show you that real quick in a minute, you could theoretically jump in and change some of the save game stuff from one version to the next. After you basically you would start a new save game with version 3, separate from where your version 2 was, save it, and then jump into your version 2 save game files and make the edits. And it actually, you might even be able to copy a whole file over. I believe you should be able to. I'm not going to do that today, but when we get closer to finished, when I have everything in the map that I know needs to be in the map, all the new factories and everything, we'll probably run a quick conversion. I'm pretty sure that, thank you guys all for the follows, by the way, missing all these people coming in. I'm pretty sure that you might be able to copy over the whole file, like I forget what it's called, but the Economica save file. But your vehicle XML, yeah, will have to, you might even be able to copy several of your files over. The trees have changed though, so the trees are going to regrow. We had to clear a lot of, oops, I thought I clicked on the last one. We had to clear a lot of the landscape for the new factories, and there's still more coming. And we put in some new roads. So the tree file would have to be a new tree file. And also the map name itself is changed to version 3, so it will be a new map. If I left it, I have to change the file name so it wouldn't be able to find it. Unless I did a 2 point something and just left it version 2 like we have done in the past. Did I forget to do the paste into the group, or am I losing my mind? No, we should be good with that last one selected. Bring it over here now. Oh yeah, this one's gonna have to be resized differently. It looks totally wacky. The scaling on it is definitely different than the others. So yeah, let's bring my other scaling in just to give me an idea. Rotate it, drop it in place, and see what we need to do. It might not look exactly the same, but it's going to look like a factory when we're done. That's the important thing. I think it looks okay like that. Let's get it. So yeah, when we get everything in the map, we'll do some save game tests before we release it. But there's going to be so many landscape changes that I hate when I misclick and I got to redraw. So many landscape changes that you're going to want to have a clean start. I mean, especially depending on how we got to, that's the main thing before we release it to you guys, is making sure all the landscape changes are done. So if I need to, yeah, we're a little bit shorter on this one, so I'm going to blow it right up to the edge. Let's see, that I think is our X value. Yeah, 1.4. Let's see if we can get it to line up. I think that's a little too big. A little bit too... And we'll get it there. A little bit smaller, just a tiny bit. That side looks pretty close. That one's... We'll get a little bit more exact here. Right there. Yeah, that looks good. So we got to go a little bit wider to get it out to the other building. That is my Z scale. Let's go 1.7. Actually, the other one's going to blow up too, so let's leave it there for now. We'll get that other one copied. And then, whoops, what did I do? Undo that. Oh, can I do it? I just screwed up because you can't undo that, I don't think. Oh, yeah, you can. Sometimes you can't. I wanted to copy those numbers. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Yeah, the greenhouses is going to be redone entirely and spread out more. So there's going to be a lot of landscape changes down there. Yeah, we're gonna make that a much larger, much more free flowing. I just, when we did the map, like usual, I brought it in the way it was from where I got it from and then didn't make changes because, well, didn't really feel like spending all the time to do it at the time. But I knew as soon as I did it that you guys wouldn't like it because you've been with me so long and I know what bugs you, but I did it anyway. So I'm sorry, but we'll we'll take the extra few hours of redesigning the whole area before we release this version. No matter what we got to do, we'll get it done. There's a lot of room up there, so we'll redesign it and spread it out and make things work a little bit differently and make it so you can easily get trucks in and out. What'd you miss? Just answers to questions and me still doing the same thing I was last time you were here. We're getting there though. Putting the factory back together, one piece at a time. Oh, why did I do that? I need that piece. Sometimes it does that. You select a piece to move it and it doesn't work because of Giant's clumsy engine. Yeah, actually, it's going to be much easier to get in and out of. That's the plan. So we'll definitely get to that. We might even do it live and see, but we'll spread it out. We'll remove the wall. I haven't taken a look at it to see what's possible, but usually anything's possible. It's just how much work you want to put in. Make sure the garage door isn't on the front of the building. Okay, we'll spin it the other way. There we go. We definitely don't have to be as wide as we were, do we? Well, maybe. We'll see. It is kind of weird. How are we in the front underneath? Come on. Mouse, don't fail me now. Right about there. A little bit higher. Fortunately, you can't see the roof overlaps from the ground. And I think that we're pretty close there. That should work out. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got left. We got this whole front piece. Which is all one piece right there. If you notice our groups, we have the last building, 4 pieces. Then we got all these 100% pieces, which will be moved in. But this can be brought in. Let's see. Is that scaled up too? Yeah, we're going to have to rescale that. So let's take a good look. We are just above the line with that. And we'll make it work. We'll just cut it and we'll put it in place and make it look good. That's the important thing. Scale is going to be interesting. possibility to directly load pallets on auto load trailer. Well, the auto load you can if you pull up close, but we will you'll be going through and we'll be repositioning things to make everything much easier accessible down there. That's for sure. I can't say without looking it over and seeing what we've got to work with. And that's not today's show, but we'll take a look at that and rework it. So it's going to take up a lot more landscape. We're also going to take a look at the train stations and see if we can stretch out the triggers on the train stations so that they're a little bit easier to, so you're not in multiple triggers at the same time by making additional stations on the same rails. It's all that fun stuff that is yet to come. Let's see what we've got here. We've got definitely a much smaller gateway than we had a few minutes ago, right? So let's go to let's see, we definitely got to go higher. I'm going to just bring it up. Okay, that definitely too high. And the way I was judging the height was by the yellow line underneath. So we're on the ground, maybe just a little bit taller. That looks pretty good. So you're walking along the, and then width-wise across the front of the building, it did definitely overhang more. So, but it definitely was not as wide as it is. And I can tell because we're up into this part here. Let's position it back. And right there is the edge. We have fence over here. It was actually up against that fence. The fence was not in it. And so that corner, well, we can do it that way. Let's see. If we fit the corner right there, we can stretch it just a little bit more. So that it comes close to touching the fence. Whoa, zoomed in. That looks pretty good. I like to just hide the bottom just enough so the bottom line, all right, now we know it's touching the ground. And I'm going to grab that same scaling because we got to do the backside. And we'll kind of do the same little process. It did cut in a little bit on the back here, but we'll get it working. Did I change the sawmills? Not in a long time. As far as the PDA there, Tarkin Tech, when the map is done, we had a better PDA put in, but the PDA, that's something that we'll keep looking for a way to, or a time and a place to get that done. But then there comes the lines where it's not a necessary to play the game and start. Oh, I did it again. Put it in the wrong place. To start playing the game, so it can be in a future update. We'll always be kind of tweaking little things like that. It's just, do you want a really good PDA map on this size map will take a long time because you'll have to take several screenshots and everything, and hours upon hours. And it's one of those things that, as you can see, what do we going on I don't even know, like 2.5 hours have we been? Oh, an hour and 42 minutes broadcasting. Uh, so just this factory, which is actually one of the easier ones, looks like we'll be done in under 3 hours on this one. Uh, Probably even sooner than that. But it all comes down to time and how much do you want me to put into it. And some people get anxious, and we can get you playing before we do a lot of the little things, like updating the PDA. Little things that take a lot of time sometimes to me just aren't worth it. Everything's going to be much better marked. Oh, delete that one and copy the other one. Yeah, I could have done that. But to be honest with you, uh, we can very easily scale this to the same exact. And now that it's here, we're going to do that. Shift Control V, rotate 90. Oops, wrong direct. That's Z. 0. Yep, that works. Slide into place. With this corner being my guide. And that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to drop it down because we're floating just a little bit. And I do see a slight shadow of grass on the middle of the slab. Whoa! Now I see a better one. Let's get let's get concrete. There we go. All right, so that is pretty darn good. Let's go back up top. We've got the 2 roof build boards, which are the only things left, but they're also scaled up, I believe, right? So let me see if this is the group that's scaled up. I'm just going to cut them as a group because they're up high enough that you guys aren't going to run into them. We don't really need to worry about that. I will just see where this group is. That's the group that's way scaled up. And where is my handle for that group? Is it close enough by? Yeah, we could work with that. So actually, that billboard right there is kind of useless, I think. We'll move it when we get down there. Let's cut the whole thing because they are scaled up as well. But up in the air enough that we don't have to move them out of their group because you won't be running into them. He likes building laying down on the job. Is it possible? Anything's possible if you know how to change the names of the farms. You'd like to give your farms your own names. Anything is possible to do. It's just if you can use the editor, you'd replace the signs and you would have to go into the scripting to replace the names. Just the names appear in the mod description XML file. If you Google, or not Google, if you search the mod description file, then you would be able to find the names and just change them in the L10N section there. Then you will get the proper, let's see. Yeah, you get the proper name to show up in the menu. So those are the only 2 things. You could delete the signs and then go into the mod description file and change the names, and I can show you that real quick. So let's see. My map. Where are we? Desktop. PV17 version 3. This is the one. If you go to the mod description file and open it with Notepad++, I'm not going to update you right now, and do a Control F for, let's say, Johnson, because we know that's one of the names of the farms. Oops, let's try searching up. That's the Johnson Farm hangars. You don't necessarily have to change those, but there you go. Johnson Reverse House. This is the text that goes on the PDA or in the menu. So changing that up would give you the proper name on the PDA and everything just by doing that. So there's all your reserve houses. If you wanted to rename them here, you would rename them right there in the mod description file, and then save that file, and then just go in and remove the signs or make your own signs and put them in. So hope that helps and answers your question. I have no problem. Actually, there were several people. I played maps that I have done before, and it's kind of fun to go see. And I guess it was back in 2013. I played on some people's maps where they changed all the company names and stuff. And hey, that's pretty cool. They weren't as involved as they are now, but they changed the farm names. We've also, oddly enough, on 2013, when we had a pretty big group playing on our server, I did the map, and then we started playing, and we all customized it. So even the one we were playing on was not the same as the one that the public was playing on, because our guys like to change that stuff too. We didn't do it this time, but I did make sure one thing. I got my farm with my name on it for a change. So I did. Oh, Johnson Farm has been on all our maps just about, because I like to play with my farm name. And that looks pretty good there. Much better than where it was. So there we have those two signs. And then we'll go back up top here, and we've got, oh, let's see what's inside some of these transform groups. That is, oh yeah, those are going to have to be pulled out. We'll see. One at a time out of the group, because these are definitely objects that we don't want you to be running into. I'll show you what they are in a minute. Thank you there, Bordeaux363, for the follow, and the Sir Helmet, and Mike FD345, Sarge 200, Grumpy Old Man 63, and Boris Spoko Coco. I think that's it. The Diamond Gamer. And PT Negara, thanks for the host if I missed that earlier. That's as far as my screen scrolls down right now. So thank you all so much for showing up today. It's a kind of an odd time for me to be broadcasting, but I'm going to try to do more of the creation process as we go, and I don't know when the time will arise. You know what? Oddly enough, you see these, they're coming out. They don't look right because they lost their texture some time ago, and I'm just going to use the building above it rather than reposition these. They're just white walls because in one of our, they used to be cement, but in one of our broadcasts we kind of lost the we kind of lost the textures, and I never noticed it. Here come the follows again. Thank you everybody so much. Let's take these out, which won't matter too much. We got a lid over it. I hope you guys don't mind that, but they're just like plain shapes anyway. Maybe we'll bring them back someday, but right now, those follows aren't actually in the stream. Oh yeah, it's a switch between. Hey, but hey, you never know who's going to be here and who's not. So anybody that follows, hello. They must have made that change. I do get a lot more now. All right, so those are out of there. But the building itself, and I hope you guys don't mind me doing that. We may replace those walls at some point, but they're not fitting here. Uh, as I do this, my group gets smaller and it's harder to find. There it is. Shed 4 is coming in. It's the Twitch app follow bot. Gotcha. Well, that they shouldn't have changed. That does get a little bit crazy. Hello. There we go. That's coming out. And we'll put that in our group below. Right here. Now, we're really getting down to well, the object moving is almost done. We got to add all those new labels to everything and a couple other minor changes, but good ones, so we'll get to those very shortly as well. Let's bring that into our group. Hopefully it's not scaled all wacky. I didn't check, but I think it's a different, whoops, we gotta wait for it. All right. I think it's in a different transform group, so it shouldn't need scaling, I hope. But if it does, not a big deal. Okay, well, let's see. It's bigger, it looks like, doesn't it? But then again, it could just be because it's close to my face. Oh yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's slide it this way. And nope, it looks like it's the right size. Make sure it's covering up roughly where we were before. Looks pretty good for now. May have to do some minor adjustments, actually a little bit more that way. Yeah. That one's in there. Let's see. The pit, I've done this one several times, so this will be pretty easy. It's just cut and paste and put in place. Then we get into, I think one of those transform groups is going to get deleted, the last one, and then the Frito Factory workings goes in second to last before, and then all the markers, and then we put the building to cover the triggers. So we're getting closer. And we'll cut that out. Now there are a couple critical steps here too that have to be done, but we will see, and they could be very time consuming. I may, because I got a little time, but I may come back and do those after the broadcast just so you guys don't have to, if need be. but I'll show you. I'll explain it before we go. Not necessarily once I check it out. It has to do with those pallets. They have to remain in their group, and they may have collision on them, and they will have to be removed. And one at a time, it's a pain in the butt. I could do one and do a restack of the pallets, but it's not fun. Thank you so much there, MadMax53, for the $5 donation. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right. We'll paste in our next piece down here, and I know what it is, so that's why I didn't show you what I highlighted, but it's where the coal gets dumped. Twitch app follow loot. Yeah. It's crazy. All right, so free me up here. Whoa. Yeah, look at that crazy thing going on. I was trying to do two things at once. Move before the object was in here. Coal dump goes over here. It's on top of a trigger. That's how I end up. Oh, by the way, if you watched last broadcast, we did run into a few issues. The first thing I did that next day was take care of all the issues we uncovered with factories building a couple objects in a not so pleasant order, and there was a tree in a road, and anything that we discovered that has been taken care of already. So any of those issues are done. That goes there. This transform group, I think I know what it is, but we're going to find out in a minute. If I'm correct, it's the pallet of pallets, which we're going to replace in the factory itself in a minute. So that the pile of pallets. So it's coming out completely if that's the case. And then we have the trigger markers. They can come out because we're going to put in a bunch of new ones. But I'm going to wait on those and do it as we bring in the new ones so I know where they go. And the factory workings itself. So this is that pile of pallets. That gets deleted. This is the most time-consuming part of building one of these. All right. We've got the trigger markers in the factory. The factory workings are all have to remain in that folder and in that order. And that, fortunately, is mostly triggers, but piles of stuff also have collision on them, and they have to be removed, which just so people don't bump into them when we're building the factory. So it's a pretty easy switch over, except for those pallets if they have collision. We'll check it out. But here we have the entire workings of the Frito-Lay factory, all in one big thing. So you can see where my triggers are, my pallets, and the pile. So we're going to cut that right out. And move the workings down into our transform group just before it gets built. Well, at the end of the building process here, with visibility nodes. Put the workings back in, line it up. Now, oddly enough, in 2015, if you moved a factory around or anything during a save game, it would cause the save game not to work anymore. But that's why they added those save IDs. Now you can move things around in the list, put them wherever, and those save IDs don't change, so it calls the information differently. It makes it much more flexible, and don't have to restart save games nearly as much while we're developing the map. But like I said, there's still the landscape changes and everything. So a fresh parts of the new save game will definitely have to go in when we start over. All right, so we've got our Frito factory workings in our group. Let's bring it on over and see where we are here. And line everything back up as much as we can. Might have to spin it around. I kind of got an idea of what goes where. All right, we definitely got to go rotate it other direction. There we go. And we know that if we bring this two front boxes close to those triggers, let's bring it on down so they're close to the ground anyway. And we have that in place. That one looks pretty good. Let's go back and see how we're looking here. See, this is a real telling sign. Two things. Number one, we're too high. Number two, we definitely need to slide them there. We'll be repositioning trigger boxes and everything a little bit as we go. And see how we're still looking up here. Pretty close. Over here we should have the one that's, I think we were definitely out further this way. Yeah, maybe even a little more. Pallets touching the ground. Yep. So once we get all those lined up, yeah, that looks quite a bit better. But all right, now for the fun part. We've got the factory workings. We got to go into the factory real quick. And I'm going to do this. If you see this blocks section, we have all these different blocks for the factory. Those blocks are the items on the ground that may need changing. I'll check out them just so I know for later on if they do or if we're okay. So the first section of blocks is, we'll see which one we highlight here. You'll see what, first of all, I've been redoing them all anyway because several of them have extra pieces that aren't there, extra stuff, and anything I can get out of this map I've figured would be a good thing. A lot less for the, so those are our classic potato chip pallets. You can see the snacks pallets. Let's go over to where they are. So there they are right there. Our classic potato chips. Basically, each of these transform groups has to be opened up. Hopefully, it's not too bad. If they're non-collisionable parts, then we're good to go. If they're collisionable, I gotta go through each one of these. I can do I can recreate it by doing one and deleting all the others and then just duplicating out. But every step of this way just so time consuming that I will not take that time to do it right this minute. But we can't move these out of the groups because everything in this factory group has to stay where it is. So we'll check out the pieces. At least on the first one, while I'm checking it out, I'll be able to know if we'll be able to live with it or not. No rigid body on the pallet, which is great. Oh, this would be so good if these ad strips don't have rigid body either. It means you could drive through them, but seeing as they're already up on a building, you wouldn't be able to anyway, so I'm not even concerned about those. but chances are the ad strips are probably rigid body on them. And that means lots. We'll check it out. Can I fix the train spline? Now I know the train splines aren't perfect, but we'll go through those. All right, we're not no rigid body on the ad strips. So that doesn't need to be done on, and those were copied. So we'll go with that for now. Next thing I wanted to do is we're going to go to the last factory, the Pepsi factory. And we're going to go to the output trigger, same setup, product 1, visibility nodes. If we look way down near the bottom, we'll see the Pepsi factory workings just before the ground decals, like this time. Oh wait, we got to go inside that. I don't need the workings of it, but I'm going to steal something from it. It's the easy way. It's just waiting for it to happen is the hard part. We'll go to the blocks, and it should be the last one in here. And it's labeled pallets. So one thing I've been doing with all these factories is copying that. We're going to go down to this block section and paste in the blocks for the pallets so that we actually have the pallets appear depending on how many are actually dropped off, just like these other products. So we'll paste that in there and then put that in over where the pallets go. We're getting close, but I'm running out of time today. Let's see. There we go. So now when you drop off pallets in its little square, the pallets will appear depending on how many are in the factory. And we'll... Oh, I clicked. I missed my arrow. I hate it when you can't see the arrow. But that's okay. We'll re-highlight it. I just highlighted the whole group and just selected one set of pallets. But these took it off the Pepsi factory. It's already set. And with time winding down, we're going to do some labeling of the products next. All right, let's see if I can highlight the arrow and actually get the group this time. We'll move those to there, make sure they're not into the wall. Oh, we're up in the air. I didn't even see how three-dimensional can really, you wonder how things, I couldn't even see that from the angle I was at. You guys might have, but my eyes couldn't see that we were actually floating that high up in the air. So that's how things end up floating sometimes, but there we go. We've got the pallets in position. This is a little tricky sometimes. Let's see if I can get close enough to get this arrow out of here. It's all on the angle because it's a thin piece of plastic. There we go. And delete that. And I am going to import, and I have it, notice it already comes up with the list of coal. These are my markers, the ground markers. We're going to bring in the new ground markers for the products that we have ready to go. I got to cut it out after I import it and put it into my group and then place it. So it will be built with the factory near the end. Let's see, visibility nodes. The silo trigger is there because I think it needs to be there to work, but it's always underground, so it's not accessible because we don't want to unbuild the factory. If you could actually pick up factory in a box truck, it would unbuild it, the project. But so that piece we don't have to worry about. Let's paste this in. I'm going to make a change to this factory too. Just a little one because it suits it better. And I'll show you that in a minute. But we're going to bring this over here. Put it on the ground. I think I'll leave the yellow box on this one. Some of them I did, some I didn't. It's a big trigger, just a small marking. I don't know which I like better. What do you guys think? To leave the big yellow box and just put this in it, or remove the yellow box altogether? I'm talking this dotted box. Sometimes I like it when it's there, and sometimes I don't. But let's bring in the palette one. I know I have that one made. Elemento palette right there. How you doing? It's good to be crazy. It is good to be crazy. Let's take that out of there and put it into my group. And we'll mark up as many of these as possible with what markers I have already made. Put it in the visibility nodes. Now also one thing I do at the end is I go back up to that other factory and delete any empty transform groups that we emptied out just to clean it up a little bit, which I didn't do yet, but not necessary for this broadcast. Last part of the whole thing. Let's paste that in here, because I really got to finish this up in like 10-15 minutes and get ready to go out to play in a charity poker event tonight. Wish me luck. I won't win nothing. It's all for charity, but yeah. Yeah, you would just have the road. Yeah, that's a possibility. We have one that says remove it, the lines, and Thomas is working on the fool to yeah, the fool. The awesome. I can remove it. This one I will remove. You guys will know. You just got to be close because the box is much bigger than the marking on the pavement. So we'll remove them. That makes it easy. As a matter of fact, I probably just clicked on the box. But there we go. we'll take those out and leave the little markers, or make it smaller. And then Thomas says, keep it or make it smaller. It's really a matter of opinion. I like them without them. What I can do, I mean, if you get close to it, you're going to hit the marker. Let's see. We can go like this. It's less pieces. That's what I do sometimes. I say, okay, it's not, even though it's not a huge resource hog, if you take out a whole mess of those, you're not, well, at least the ones we're bringing in, we're replacing the ones that we're taking out, and we're not adding more to the map. So that's a lot of times when I'm doing stuff, that's what it comes down to. We can move it closer, you know, the cold dump's there. You just get anywhere close, it's going to hit the trigger. Because the trigger, if I zoom out and click down there, is right there. We'll move the trigger back a little bit, closer to the dump point, and center it up a little bit better. I noticed that these were a little bit off, but there you go. You get in that area, you're good to go. All right, what do we have over here? Now this is the tricky one. We have 3 products underground, which we are going to check as well for collision because they may not be underground when we're building it. We have the potatoes, so very often, but because again they're underneath something, the collision is not completely necessary, but we're going to turn off the rigid body on each of these 3 piles so that when the building's not here, you can drive over them or through them. But when the building appears, you'll have the whole building up above kind of blocking you a little bit. Just one of the unnecessary evils of having to use this to build the factory. In the 2015 version, we were able to use the other script, and rather than making things invisible, it would move them underground. So it was just changing the coordinates, and I never had that issue. So that is done. We've got to bring in labels for corn, canola, potatoes, sour cream, and milk, which I don't have them all made, but we'll get the first couple in here. Let's see what we have. I think I have the sour cream. I don't have a lot of the outside ones done. We're going to line them up on this little grid because they'll all get dumped in there. And I have the milk done because I did the dairy already. I don't think I have the potatoes. This might be the first factory that potatoes are going into. So, and I think the canola, it's the first one. I think all 3. The corn, I think I have. I'm not sure. Now, also there, Thomas, if you're working on the fuel one, don't worry about the labels. I can throw those in later. I know where they'll go, and we'll relabel it up when the time comes. But just to give you an idea, I got to do a test before we go. So I'm going to move this show along a little bit. We'll put this one in. You know I've got to put more ground markers in. And we have to save again. It'll only be saved twice in the last, what have we been going, 2 hours, 21 minutes? And that's not always a good thing, but we'll finish this up. We'll get this one in. For now, we'll put them lined up on the grid. We got to fit 5 of them eventually. So we'll start at this end with the sour cream. You got to make sure also that they're close enough that they don't look like they're floating, but not too close where they're flashing. All right. So basically, that's what has to be done is the rest of the ground markers. And this last building that covers the triggers gets put in after those. I'm not going to move it down there right now because I would just have to keep moving it down the group as I put in more of the ground markers. But I want to show you guys the factory, and we're going to just leave this place floating until I'm ready to move it. I got a couple more trigger markers to move out of the way in that group as we go over here. And then the whole Frito factory is pretty much going to be done. But for now, we're going to save this. And I'm going to drive around on this little plot here with it not built. And we'll check it out and see if we bump into anything. And if I missed anything that needs to be done. So yeah, oh, you got the textures. Is there 4 transform groups to build it? Oh, you know what we forgot? Actually, it's not done. So we got that. There's 2 other things that need to be done with this. And once I save it, I'll point it out. We're actually in group, we've got 1 transform group to build it. It all goes into the visibility nodes on group 1. Just 1 transform group. It's visibility nodes on and I can show you that real quick, Thomas. I forgot about that. You don't have anyone to show you. We're going to go down to the bottom. So we'll go through the groups real quick. Product 1 is set to a fill type called, and I could change these. You could use just any fill type later on, but that is your project fill type because that's what you're going to be building. Project fill type number group 1. So you have the visibility nodes and the silo trigger are the only 2 things in that group. And the product is project. That's how it's labeled, Project. What I forgot was we have product 2. Visibility nodes in product 2 contains the ground decal for where we're going to do the gold pickup. And I'll place that. Now we're going to move that in, and this is the gold. This is set to gold, the product that we're making. And it's a visibility node for how much gold is in the factory. And what we do is, once I free up here, we find a place that's out of the way that you can pick up the gold that you don't kind of drive over all the time. We're going to just stick it over here for now. I don't want it to be out in the middle of the parking lot because once the trigger's done, you never need to use it again. But we'll put it over here and not too close to the building where if the building appears, we're going to end up having issues. But yeah, I guess I got a seam. We'll figure that. So that goes there. These containers, I'm not going to place them all right now, but those are what I use to block triggers as the factory's filling up. So as the factory's building, you can't actually use it completely. And that was not necessarily necessary, but it was one of those things that I thought would hinder people, because even though you can't see the workings of the factory, it's buildable anyway. So I tried to find a way to drop a few. And as far as you get, Thomas, any of this stuff that you don't have available to you, I can add in. If you get the visibility node group done, that's the hardest part. So what I do is I take these containers and I will drop them in as a factory is being built, as the gold is filling up, to block off triggers so you can't start doing some work on the factory before it's completely built while the building process. It's not foolproof, but it will hinder people from just... So if I put that there, it'll disappear at the end of the factory being built. Sort of used like the crane system, but when the gold is emptied, these will remove as well every time the gold's emptied. So that's what those containers are going to come in for. And then the silo trigger for the gold pickup. And because the gold label is the very top one, when the gold's empty, the silo trigger disappears. So that, once we get it, we'll go over onto... The reason for all these empty transform groups is because the boxes appear as we're building, those little boxes, and the building as it's filling up with gold. And I wanted them to appear really all real early on in the process and block off all the triggers really fast. And basically, let's say we had the box and one transform group. Box 1 would come in at 50% and box 2 would come in at 100%. We don't want the box to appear when it's completely full. So adding these breaks it down so that all the boxes appear every time the gold hits just a couple percent. So that was the reason for adding the empty transform groups. The boxes appear real quick during the building process and block off the triggers. And I have enough of them there to block off the cold trigger, the pallet trigger, and it's just so you're not sitting there operating the factory while it's being built without having some sort of repercussions. if you try it, you can do it, but if it's building and something, you might get a vehicle stuck in there. All right, so we place the silo trigger, and the very last thing is the interact trigger. And the interact trigger needs to go next to the original fill points where we're building the factory, so you can tell how much product and how far along the process is. So if it ever finishes up spinning around, we'll put that in place, and then we'll save it up and we'll go inside and see if we're bouncing off of anything, which is possible. Because I did carry some groups over and didn't bother checking them thoroughly. One of the interesting things about this process too is the gold coins are on the slabs in the middle of nowhere. Now, they used to be like tucked in corners and stuff when you find the gold coins, but now they're just kind of out there wherever. So I may have to reposition this when I bring the building back down over it, but we're going to put it in here and get it clear out of the way of our trigger, just so people can read the meter. I try to keep it close, but I have to make sure it's underneath that building, and it should be fine there. Now we'll save it. And we'll give it a test, and we'll see that before, if we were playing, the factory would be there in 100% built. Now we're going to just have an empty slab with those triggers on it, and we'll take a look at it. I might have missed some grass sticking through. I've got more labels to do, but we're running out of time here today, and I'm got to take a look and see how we did, see if any errors pop up or anything like that. Shouldn't be any errors, other than maybe running into something that's invisible. And We're saved. So let's jump into the game. And take a look at our map. If it runs, I got so much going on. I did double click on it, didn't I? The computer can't handle all my work. Or maybe it didn't. My computer's been getting sluggish or my mouse has been getting not working, one or the other. But the left mouse button's usually been pretty good. Come on. What's going on here? I'm going to just pull up my task manager on the other monitor real quick. I want to see if it's running before I launch. No, it's not running. What the heck? There it goes. Something's all wacky here. I think I might have something going on my computer that needs to be fixed, or too much stuff running. My memory might be getting too low. Come on. Why is Giants not running? That is so weird. It shows like I clicked on it, but the game won't run. My icon's a little whacked out or something? Not doing anything. Run as administrator? Let's try that. Huh. Well, let me shut down this. I'm not going to leave it open. Maybe I'm running out of space on the computer here, which I'm running at 60% CPU, 43% memory, but I don't know why the game. I usually leave this open running but then again, I don't broadcast when I'm running as well lately in editing. But everything else is what I'm using to broadcast. Come on, start up. Maybe my mod folder switcher program isn't connected to a folder. It is. Huh. Let's try it a different way. Well, that is a first. I see. Oh my gosh. Hold on a minute. You know what? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm deleting Giant's engine tasks that are running in the background. That is so weird. So it might have froze up. There was 10 of them. They were triggering, but let me see if I got anything else looking like it's going crazy. Just that the Google Chrome might. Let's try this again now. Fire up, game. Huh. It shows it's running, but it isn't showing, and I have no idea where it's going. I don't know what's hogging up my... why it's not running. I'm shutting down some other stuff here. Yeah, yeah. Dropbox for Gmail has crashed. That's because I'm turning off a bunch of stuff trying to figure out what the heck else could be going on. OBS running? Did I lose my connection? Huh. All right. You have a map. I don't know if I might have to come back. I can't seem to get Farming Sim to kick off. I probably need to reboot the computer. I've been doing a lot of crazy stuff today. But yeah, my game isn't even firing up. So it looks like... why do I have that? I don't even... I got something going on in the background. Notepad's still running. We could shut that down. Computer question. You're crashing on a map edge when a mower gets too close to the edge, if that makes sense. That happened to me in the 2013 version, I think, but I've never had it happen in the 2015 version or 2017, so I'm not sure why it would be happening. I'm just still looking to see if I got something else going on in the background that might be corrupting. I've got a lot of services running, but I don't see any other reason for FarmSim to be locking up. And not kicking off. But unfortunately, I think everything's working except for FarmSim. I'm going to have to call it a show for today anyway, and maybe later on tonight after the game, if we do well, I'll get back here and we'll see if we can get this computer. But obviously it's going to take a computer reboot. So it's a Lua set visibility Lua error. Okay. Yeah, so I will check that out and see what's going on. Let me try something real quick, just because. I haven't even started the map, but I'm going to switch, make sure my process isn't running here. I haven't even loaded up. I'm going to switch over to, okay, nothing's running. I'm going to switch over to where I'm, our server, and see if this game will fire up with that different map folder. I don't think so. The game's just whacked. Yeah, it's not firing up. So that'll have to be it for today. We'll try to get back later. If not, we'll be back soon and we'll get to test this thing and see what happens. But something's whacked with my Giants game, so we'll figure it out later. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll be back. Take it easy. Have a great day.